Hello and welcome to another at History Gems and more exciting news. I have yet another new book out. This one is called Deus Vult, a concise history of the Crusades. And there needs to be a little bit of history about the book before I go into the book itself. This is the book that got me the deal with Ambly Publishing. I wrote this actually well over a year ago. I submitted it to multiple places, and it was Ambly who said, "We like it, we want it, we're going to publish it," which is great news. And from there, I ended up writing the British Empire in 100 Facts after this one. But they kind of got released at virtually the same time, and it was seen that the other one was perhaps just a bit more generalist. And indeed, everyone's heard of the British Empire. And while people have heard of the Crusades, they probably don't know the main story. Now, this is a topic I have been studying for about 30 years of my life. I find it endlessly fascinating, supremely exotic, and quite frankly, there are so many stories of this period that sound made up, fantastical, things that would be in movies and you wouldn't believe it, and they really did happen. Of course, we're talking about violence on a huge scale, but it was far more complicated than you would first expect. The big issue is when I was studying this originally in the 1990s, this was about as obscure and, quite frankly, self-indulgent topic as you could get. Nobody cared about the Crusades. Sadly, that all changed on September the 11th, 2001, with the spectacular terrorist attacks on America, destroying, obviously, the Twin Towers and attacking the Pentagon, and then that fourth plane crashing in the field. See, from that point, people started realizing that there were a lot of people out there who still take their religion very, very seriously. And unfortunately, this has led to an awful lot of pundits on news shows talking about what's happening today, be it with Al-Qaeda or the Taliban or ISIS, as if it was the same as what was happening 800 years ago. The comparisons aren't there. That any vague similarities are just that, vague. There isn't really much helpful to learn about what's happening today by looking at this stuff from centuries ago. But there is hope in this book. If we're talking about Christians so extreme that they travel, they walk, some of them, from Paris to Jerusalem, where 2/3 of that period of time they were under attack from an enemy, where they nearly starved to death. And when they turned up in Jerusalem, they slaughtered every man, woman, and child they could get their hands on. Even these zealots negotiated peacefully with people of another faith. And vice versa as well. There were some extremely violent Muslim rulers who still negotiated peace contracts. The other thing about the Crusades is they didn't all happen in the Middle East, and they weren't all against Muslims either. There were fights in the forests of northern Europe against pagans. There was a huge and long crusade in southern France against heretics. There was even one crusade that went off course and ended up attacking Orthodox Christians in Greece. See, the fact is this: the Crusades are a fascinating period of history, and they're a period of history that should never be ignored. They're kind of tucked away because they happened a long time ago, but the reality is they affected pretty much every country in Europe has a Crusader heritage. And it didn't happen for a couple of years, it happened for centuries and changed people's mindsets. The same thing in the Middle East. But let us not confuse general cultural trends and general violent interactions of peoples with what's happening on the 10 o'clock news today. So, if you want all this demystified, if I've mentioned things where you go, didn't know that, then this is the book for you. I have written this as an introduction to the Crusades. There are many books on the Crusades out there, but most of them are fairly academic. Most of them only concentrate on the Middle East, and most of them pretend there's only 4 of them. Now, what I do is I actually talk about all of them, but I do so in less than 250 pages. I even talk about how the start of 1095 wasn't actually the start of the idea of the crusading violence with Christianity ideal. So with all that in mind, if I've piqued your interest, have a read. Buy a copy of this book. I ask you to share this. I ask you to put a review up on Amazon. Spread the word. This is pretty much a lifetime's work and interest put into one book. And I really hope you enjoy reading it as much as I enjoyed writing it. The name of the book again is Deus Vult, which means God wills it in Latin and was the cry of the Crusaders. The book is available on the Amberley website. That's actually the cheapest way to get it. However, you can go to a bookstore and order it, or indeed Amazon. It is also on Amazon too. Please do put up a review, share things, and buy the book. Thank you.